All right, everyone. So, apparently, overnight, Joe Biden did something extremely based again. Just overnight, I woke up and Biden did something based again. It's every day at this point. It's something new, worth talking about. And I love to see it. Joe Biden is out there making me proud. And I love to see it. Thank you, Joe. Keep making me proud. So apparently, Joe Biden has broke OPEC and rewrote the rules for oil trading. My understanding, like a very cursory one at that, because I haven't even looked into this prior to stream yet, is that Biden's basically bending not just the oil industry, but countries that have kind of had us by the balls when it comes to oil for a while before we became more reliant on domestic oil production and actually started to trade and sell more oil away from America than we're taking in or buying. And it seems like Biden is going even further with this. For those who don't know, my current knowledge when it comes to Biden and fossil fuels is that he seems to be striking like what I thought was a impossibly perfect balance. You see, obviously, our minds would immediately jump to the idea that we need to immediately cut off all use of fossil fuels in order to save the environment, right? Like, literally, if we could do it with the flip of a button, we should. The problem is this does require a fair amount of infrastructural transitioning. It doesn't take that long, though, and that's what Biden has acknowledged and stated quite clearly. By 2030, even 2035 at the latest, we can reach complete carbon negativity. As in, we are removing more carbon from the atmosphere per year than we produce. And a big thing that he recently did to promote that was a policy he put into place that would mean that by 2030, the coal industry would have to essentially completely, transition to other forms of power production or into completely different industries. He's basically shutting down the oil or the coal industry. Now, for those who don't know, coal only produces about 20% of power that our country uses. It's actually not very efficient at all, but it makes up about 80% of our yearly carbon footprint output. So it's a really big deal. Just dealing with coal alone is like the biggest, most unprecedented, huge deal ever. But it doesn't stop there. Because while Biden has opened up permits more than any other president ever for domestic oil production and drilling, which is in a large part why we've become so much less reliant on Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states, that's not where it ends. You see, Biden has also opened up more permits than any president before him for green energy production and infrastructure. And on top of that, recently saved like thousands or tens of thousands of acres of Alaskan wilderness from a massive mining and oil drilling pipeline trail that would have been built and just like, it would have just torn through like thousands of acres of wilderness in Alaska. It would have been a long mining road with a big oil pipeline along it. It would have gone through so much indigenous land. Biden shut that shit down, and the Republicans and the oil lobby are fighting him hard, as are the companies that rely on those, rare earth metals that were being mined. I believe it was rare earth metals. I think it was literally like platinum or like cobalt, or it was something used in computers. Like it was something you're like, of course, yeah, they would be pissed, And so Biden is striking this perfect balance where we are using fossil fuels, it is in a way that is making it lithium. Okay, cool. I guess it was lithium. So in a way, like when we use fossil fuels, we are using them in such a way that it is making us less dependent on countries like Saudi Arabia. And at the same time, he is taking unprecedented, literally like by magnitudes, unprecedented steps towards eliminating America's carbon footprint. So yeah, this is just the next step in all of that. So let's see where this is going. Guys, it might not be all Jover. Like, the environment could actually be saved. I literally did a climate change segment yesterday where I was like, things are really bad. It's happening. Look at the Florida beaches. They're getting eaten away. Like, literally this hurricane season, we might see, like, towns along the west coast of Florida get swept away, and that's not a joke. But this is our chance, you know. This is the hopium, right? There is still hopium. There are people preserving corals and fish species in order to rewild them, breeding them, and getting ready to rewild them when the oceans are made cool and more suitable for them. It's just a matter of having the willpower and the effort to affect political change. And the fact is, the most significant piece of political power that Americans have is their vote. And here we have somebody on the ballot who will actually do something to stop the end of the world. And you can vote. You can exert that political power to at least be a drop in the bucket on the scale towards not ending the world. On the not ending the world side of that scale, you know?
6 decades ago, a bunch of oil-producing countries, including Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, banded together to form OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. And that cartel has had a massive influence on American politics ever since. Just look at what happened after OPEC decided to put an embargo on the United States during the Arab-Israeli War of 1973.
This winter, Americans waited in line for gasoline
crisis
that they sometimes couldn't buy. They conserved fuel and turned off lights. They paid more for oil.
Aren't there like photos from back when this happened where there's just it looks like something out of The Walking Dead, where there's just long streets of people's cars broken down on the side of the road and along the highway and country roads because they just ran out of gas. Like they were on a road trip and then there was no gas at the gas station they were counting on there being gas at. And so like, and that happened to like hundreds of people, thousands in a single day. And so you get these like newspaper clippings where it's like just hundreds of cars on the side of the road, like out of The Walking Dead, dude. Well, yeah, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Reliance on other countries that don't even really like us for oil, which is like the thing we need to make our country function. It's like the blood going through our beating hearts. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. It was like a semi-post-apocalyptic America for a little bit.
Closed. Some of them lost their jobs.
It was
Then
like
in
COVID.
1979, prices at the pump soared again when Iranian oil production dropped after the Iranian Revolution, and OPEC almost tripled oil prices. And of course, the fallout helped knock Jimmy Carter right out of the White House. American presidents have been bedeviled by OPEC ever since.
Remember, guys, if gas prices get too high, the American people will wait. Does this not like fully confirm what I said about how like foreign leaders recognize that a Democrat in office makes our country stronger and more competently run, and they want Republicans in power because either A, the Republican in power might be a traitor that they can just straight up bribe into weakening the country, or B, might just be so incompetent and ideological they'll shoot the country in the foot just to look cool. Like this has been going on, for literally confirmed been going on for decades, but instead of with war, it's oil prices. So like actually raising oil prices when Democrats in office because they know a Democrat in power is better for America. Cool. And the American people are so stupid they fall for it every time. Good.
Since until now, because to quote former congressional advisor Matt Stoller, Joe Biden just broke OPEC. And he did that through a truly incredible bit of oil market trading. Here's how The Economist describes it. In 2022, when he released 180 million barrels of crude, he sold at an average of $95 a barrel. In July last year, when oil was at $67 a barrel, he began to refill.
I love this. Joe Biden, master oil trader from The Economist. Good God. I love how Biden is actually everything that Trump supporters think Trump is, ironically enough. Like, he's actually this, like, heavily maligned dude who's doing everything he can to, like, actually pass policies that save the country and help, like, the American people, especially the working class. He's nonstop maligned, and the Republicans have actually weaponized the political system or the legal system against him, despite constantly finding nothing whatsoever against him. Like, the closest they ever got was that he did, in fact, have classified documents in his house, except A, he was very clearly unaware of them, unlike Trump, who had tons of evidence they had found of him showing them and, like, planning to show them to foreign leaders and stuff like that, and foreign dignitaries and whatnot. And while Biden just immediately gave them up and was like, oh, yeah, my bad, Jack. And not only that, but those documents weren't even classified when he put them in his garage. They were classified after the fact because that is a thing. So he literally did not actively break the law. He didn't commit a crime, but they still went after him for it. And, fair enough. That's fine. An investigation is fair. And, he cooperated and did everything you're supposed to do. And that's why he is fine. Biden has been in politics since 1972 and learned to master 4D chess over the years. He's a very smart political figure, but it's just funny how he actually is what Trump supporters think Trump is, like unironically.
The reserve. He has replaced about 1/5 of what he sold.
He's actually a good businessman.
Of $582 million and has managed to time the market to perfection. And Biden's streak is still going. Here to explain it all is Dan Dickert. He's one of the foremost experts on.
I love how this is just the most dry, boring topic imaginable. Please bear with me, Chad, okay? Listen, I want you guys to go, pour yourself a cup of coffee, put on a bathrobe and wear some reading glasses, fake ones if you want to, and just, pretend to be, super mature right now. We're getting into, the nitty-gritty politics behind Biden's oil trading plan, okay? I know this sounds boring, but we are real politic motherfuckers over here, okay? We aren't fake politics people. We like real politics. We actually care about what's going on. And even we gotta eat our vegetables before we can have our steak and our pudding, okay? And this is our vegetables, so let's go.
On oil and energy markets, founder of the Energy Word newsletter. And back in October 2022.
Yeah, get your old school corn pipe. Your corn husk pipe.
Really called this whole thing in a piece titled "Joe Biden is the greatest oil trader ever." This has gotten very little coverage. I think it's a wild story.
Great.
Take us back to the origins of this.
Right. So 2 years ago, what we had was the most.
I love how we're gonna look back on Joe Biden historically, especially if he gets not elected in reelected in 2024 in this election. We're gonna look back at him as the best president we've ever had. That just got completely maligned, Biden might be more progressive than Al Gore, I actually don't know that for sure, considering I was a fetus when Al Gore was going up against Bush. But, yeah. Ugh.
Most bullish oil market I had seen in 40 years.
Bullish meaning prices are high.
Prices are they're gonna go higher because what you had is you're coming out of a pandemic. You've got this demand, this pent-up demand. People want to go traveling. They want to get back into the world.
They want to fly. They want to drive.
That means oil prices are going to go up, okay? Now you have oil companies who, during the pandemic, got decimated by the pandemic. They can't cover the oil that's being demanded at the time.
Right.
And to add on top of that, you've got a new war, the Ukrainians and the Russians. And now
Doesn't Ukraine export a lot of oil? That really hit the oil market, didn't it? Ukraine exports a lot, right? They're pretty high on the list of oil export. They got a lot of oil there. Do they not? They very well might. Ukraine has a lot of oil. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ukraine's a big oil exporter, and the invasion from Russia really hurt the oil, and not really hurt. It bounced back well enough, but it's definitely hurt it. I don't know for sure. I'm almost certain I heard this. Maybe I'm making shit up. Hold on. Ukraine oil export. Ukraine exported 2.41 million in crude petroleum, making it the 98th largest exporter of crude petroleum in the world. At the same year, crude petroleum was the 480th most exported product in Ukraine. So they're definitely more known for their wheat, definitely. But apparently oil is, they're definitely not. They're in the top 100, They're in the top 100. Yeah, I imagine if Ukraine has, a decent amount of oil, then Russia's probably got a shit ton. Just, it's pretty big. Even if it is somewhat distorted by globes and maps, kind of, fucking up the size of countries closer to the poles. So, Russia's not as big as it looks on globes and maps, geographically, but it's still pretty fucking big.
The Europeans want to do, and Joe Biden wants to do, is they want to freeze Russian supplies out using...
Correct me if I'm wrong. does Russia not actually fit in China? Like, I think Russia can fit in China. It's just that so much of Russia is being, like, distorted and stretched against the pole that it looks so much bigger than it really is. Like, the same goes for America. It can fit in Australia, right? No, Russia does not fit in China. All right, hold on. There's a website that hold on. Hold on. Country true size. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Are there other countries I can select? Yeah, hold on. Okay. Check this out. Let's see how big Russia really is. Okay, not quite inside of China, but you get my point, right? Let's move it all the way to the equator so we have no distortion. Actually, it might fit in China, to be honest. This is how a country looks with as little distortion as possible. You have to understand, it is basically, literally impossible, actually, to flatten a globe out and not distort the size of places. And even on a globe, there's a stretching effect that happens. So if we actually flatten out to scale, there you go. I think America fits in Australia. Yes, it does. Yeah, America does just about fit in Australia, more or less. Especially if you zero distortion it on the equator. Just about fits. China. Oh yeah, we can put China and Russia on top of each other on the equator. Okay. Yeah, China's definitely smaller, but you can see what I mean, right? Like how fucking distinct the warping effect of flattening a map that is a globe shape really is. It's really hard not to fuck it up. But hopefully you guys know I'm not talking crazy nonsense here. You know, I'm real.
Sanctions. They want to make sure that they can't, the Russians can't use their oil machine to finance the war.
Because their oil machine is the biggest export they have. It's how they finance it.
All of this combined makes for the most bullish market that I ever saw.
Yeah, so, and people were going around putting stickers on oil, on gas. And,
hold on. Wait, are there people here that don't know what bullish means? Like Bullish in regards to, like, the market? So I guess some people might not. For those who don't know, a bullish market is, or something being bullish in the market, it means it's like going up, it's strong, it's pushing. But if it's bearish, I think is the other end, bull and the bear and the bull. If it's bearish, then it's just kind of, it's piddling out. Maybe it's holding or it's dropping. Yeah. Bull seal, big bull seal.
Gas station saying with Joe Biden saying I did
this, right. And bullish, we had $5.50 gasoline here. We had $7.50.
Bear means hold, bull means sell or hold. But when it stops bulling and starts bearing, that's when you want to sell.
$8 gasoline in California. Joe Biden goes to Saudi Arabia and does what other presidents do, and he begs the Saudis for oil.
After being very harsh on MBS, who, of course...
Remember the fist bump?
Yes, he gave
photo of the fist bump.
After being very harsh on MBS, rightly, after he had ordered the execution of an American newspaper columnist, various other human rights violations, goes back, does what American presidents do. Hey, buddy, we need the oil.
We need the oil. And MBS tells him to, go stuff yourself, because he's not getting the transactional kind of deal that he got from Trump, who forgot about the Khashoggi murder.
Of course, who's not going to give him a hard time.
Who sold him F-35, fighters. There was this whole transactional deal, and at this point,
That's why Trump gets this perception of being so friendly with world leaders, is he ignores shit like that. You guys know, like, who here doesn't know about the Jamal Khashoggi murder? Basically, there was this guy, I believe he was, I forget who he was who he was like a representative of, but he went into the Saudi Arabian consulate. He walked in, and he never walked out, because he was taken into a back room, and he was murdered and then butchered. And when I say butchered, I mean he was cut up into small pieces, enough that his whole body could fit into like a briefcase. And then the butcher carried his body out of the building to make sure that no security cameras could see. So the thing that like looked really weird was he went in and never went out, and he was missing. This happened back in, like, what, 2018, 2017, if I were to guess? It was a while ago, before I was super hyper into politics, but I've got the gist of the story.
You know, MBS is saying, you're going to give me something? And
Trump did nothing about this. This was obviously done by the Prince of Saudi Arabia, ordered by him, no doubt, and yet nothing happened. Trump did nothing, and that is why Trump gets the perception of being this peace-loving, gets along with all these world leaders that aren't friendly with America kind of guy. They know that him being in power makes America weaker, so they want to allow him to be in power. And B, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't retaliate because he's not like, he's a traitor to America.
And Biden says, no, I have nothing but, the United States to give you. And MBS says, forget it. So he goes back home and he hatches this enormously interesting, aggressive plan to use this Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which is our national emergency reserve system, to try and hedge down oil prices.
Okay, I want to be clear here. We're sitting on a bunch of barrels. They actually exist in some cave somewhere.
They do, about 580 some odd million barrels of it.
Holy and the shit. Idea is, if we're ever in an emergency in which we don't have any access to oil, this is the strategic reserve. We
used it, for example, in Hurricane Katrina. That was a major time when this stuff was released. But in Katrina, they released maybe 20.
Oh, PNX 034. I never realized that. What a good point. When a bear and a bull fight, the bull attacks upwards with its horns with like a whoo kind of motion, while a bear paws and swipes downwards with its claws. So bullish is upwards and bearish is downwards. I guess that makes a lot more sense than what I kind of assumed it meant. Why the comparison was there,
26 million barrels of oil. In this case, over the course of a year, they released 180 million barrels.
No one had ever done anything like this.
Very aggressive. And personally,
basically, because as he's increasing the supply, he's like, oh, you're going to keep supply. You want to keep prices high? Well, guess what? We're going to put a bunch of oil in the market and drive the price down.
Right. And we're
going to sell it into the market.
We're going to sell it into the market. And more than that, we're going to look all the other traders in the eye. And we're going to say to them, if you want to buy oil, the guy standing on the other end of this trade is the U.S. Treasury, the government of the United States. And that scared the bejesus out of every trader. And traders started to drop their own positions in oil. They were helping drive the price of oil down while the government was selling it, because nobody wants to be long oil when the U.S. government is telling the world, telling all the traders, we want to see prices lowered. We're going to do what we need to do.
Guys, has anyone else ever seen the show The Goldbergs? It's like a sitcom. I imagine most of you guys don't watch TV, certainly not sitcoms. It's not my thing either, but I've seen a few episodes. This guy reminds me of like a much older version of the dad. Like, he looks like him and he sounds a lot like him, but like, this is like if he got older and became like super into politics in the market and got really energetic and went on the news to talk about like the economy and oil trade.
To make those prices
so they're coming
lower.
they're coming to the market. They're saying two things. We want this price to go down.
Right.
And we're sitting on these barrels and we're going to sell until it does go down.
Until it goes down.
Watch.
It's exactly what he did. And so the amount of money he made for the U.S. Treasury, this is the fun part of it, is that he sold basically around $100 a barrel. And he's been buying it back around $70 a barrel. That's $30 that he's made on about 200 million barrels. That's, somewhere between $5-6 billion he's made for the U.S. Treasury. And that's why I said that Joe Biden is the greatest oil trader ever.
You just show this at
Well, goddamn. It's really unfortunate that, like, Biden, once again, they even pointed it out on MSNBC, isn't getting credit for this stuff, when it's like, Biden is just, like, actually a mastermind as president. Like, we cannot continue to deny this. Like, what are we doing? Please. Like, I will start debate. I want to debate people on this. Please debate me on this. Please. I want people to argue with me and try to claim that Biden is not literally the best president that we've had in American history. I think I would actually debate Vox. I would actually win that debate against Vosh so fucking hard, we'll go 3-1 or 3-0. What is it like? Because it'd be my third debate win with Vosh. I've debated him twice, and I've won both those times. I'll go 3-0. Absolutely. I think the first debate was about the Chris Chan thing, and everyone was like, "No, Zan's right here. You should probably get ahead of this before like Blair White and the Chuds start using this to push transphobia." And then a day later, it was everything that everyone was talking about forever.
April 2nd, they were about to do some purchases to replenish the reserve.
Right.
He canceled it. So that's where he was. This is him buying now, not selling, right? You want to sell high, buy low, right?
At this point,
canceled April 2nd, went down, went into the market May 7th when it had dropped $5.
Holy shit.
Right. And at this point, he has such there's such a fear from traders of what the U.S. will do next that he merely has to threaten one way or the other to make oil markets move.
But this is a really important thing. This wasn't done before. This is a innovation in using the SPR to basically put a guardrail on global oil prices and to wildly diminish the cartels.
And by the way, I think that Biden understands that as well as being a seller of last resort at the top of a market, he's going to be a buyer of last resort at the bottom of a market and also protect those oil companies to make sure that they remain profitable as well. The point is that you've got to.
The fact is that the oil companies will smite Biden out of the Oval Office in a second, if he just literally lets them die. There is a certain level of bailout requirement necessary to exist as a political figure. People who are super into politics can oftentimes have a lack of understanding of the fact that most people, the people who really decide the elections, are very barely plugged in politically, and thus they're extremely susceptible to political propaganda, usually campaign ads and stuff. The stuff they see on signs, that kind of stuff works on people, what they hear on the radio on the way to work, or on YouTube videos, or like the ads that play on before a YouTube video, or on the side of the screen when they're scrolling a social media site. These things work on people. And unfortunately, the amount of money that these industries have to support like PACs and ad campaigns and stuff like that is immense. And so, yeah, like entire elections have and will continue to be influenced by the desires of these massive corporations. And the only way to keep them happy is to provide them at least a little bit of concern when you're like building a policy plan. And as much as I would prefer for Biden to not give a fuck about the oil companies and to only care about the American people, at the same time, Biden has been so good and I care so much about him continuing to be in office that I care about the pragmatism over 100% ideological purity any day, right? We're about harm reduction here. Not everything can be perfect. Not everything can be a 101% win. Sometimes we got to take that 98% win and be happy with it,
How to put guardrails on both sides of this market, and by doing so, you create a lane, for example, for renewables.
For the green transition.
Exactly. You make in fact, if you look at the stock market today and you look at those green market stocks, they've been doing nothing but shooting up, basically because Biden has created a stable oil market for the first time in our history at some of the most crazy moments in the oil market when you would see nothing like stability.
Yeah, he's actually making a really good point. Like, Iran just launched a barrage of drones at Israel, and we were teetering on the edge of, like, everyone thinking we're going to have World War III now. Ukraine is currently under invasion and has been for years by Russia. We're coming out of a pandemic still in a pandemic, but we're coming out of the peak of a pandemic that is shut down the world. All things considered, the fact that Biden has done this is like even more impressive than if you just think about the state of the world, say, I don't know, 10 years ago. If Biden had pulled this off, it'd be far less impressive than him doing it now, the way things are now.
We have seen nothing but stability. It's a tremendous success.
It's really an undercover story, and I think that it does connect to the green transition because that price volatility is the number one political.
That's what it's called, the green transition. And it's unfortunate that it's an undercover story, like you said. And I love that that's what they're bringing up as well, the green transition. The fact that this isn't some like, oh, we love oil, America loves oil. This is about transitioning off of oil to green energy and nuclear, ideally.
Threat to the green transition, because as soon as things hit $5 a gallon, everyone's like, oh, I don't want this green stuff,
exactly.
Right? So that stability is key. Dan Dicker, thank you very much.
We love Dan Dicker. Hypers in chat if you love Dan Dicker. I love him. I think Dan Dicker might be my favorite Dan now. Maybe my second favorite Dan. I really like FODs. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this segment and what I had to say about it and the news that you got from it, please consider dropping a like. It really helps a lot, and it's a completely free way of supporting the stream, and I really do appreciate it. So for every like, it really does go a long way. Thank you, no matter when or where or what you're watching. Don't forget to comment down below, subscribe and ring the bell icon if you haven't already, so YouTube tells you when I go live or upload a new video. And of course, don't forget to follow my social medias linked down below and join my fan Discord as well, the main hub and like central area of my community and fan base. If you haven't already joined it, you're really missing out. I host game events, call-in streams, watch parties, and announce all my new uploads and streams there, so you won't miss anything if you have notifications on. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you there, of course. And don't forget, if you want to support me directly financially, because of course I am raising money for the equipment needed for doing Quail content, which is pretty expensive, and of course I need to pay my rent and my bills and all that stuff, consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me financially through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buying merch down below through the Streamlabs link. And, even if you don't buy merch, you can always just, look at the merch store. It's always nice. I appreciate if you guys look at the designs I made. That said, though, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and have a good one.